a Marine Corps veteran, cattleman, bull rider, and mental health advocate. This week's guest is a suicide survivor who is committed to helping others by sharing his own struggles with PTS, MST, and suicide in order to raise awareness and empower others to rise above. He is also the founder and CEO of Second Chance Rehabilitation Ranch, LLC, which serves veterans and first responders with mental illness. I love how you do this, Michael. Very admirable. It is through his struggles that the Second Chance Rehabilitation Ranch was born. He found his healing and empowerment through horses, nature, and the support of others facing the same challenges, and that is exactly what they offer to America's heroes. Me, for one, nature is great for me. I love taking walks throughout the day. It's something that really helps me lengthen my days. But before we bring him on and start this show, let's open up with Michael. What does mental health mean to you?
Man, to me, mental health is important because I believe you have to heal body, mind, and soul. So you gotta make sure that your mental health is good. If it's out of kilter, man, it impacts everything else. So I think it's vital.
I like what you said there. There are a few components to overall health, and if your mental health is down, so will everything else. You couldn't have said it better. If you're not thinking good, you're not going to feel good. And with that, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of A Mental Health Break. It is once again time to talk all things mental health. I am your host and author of the books Mental Health Week and Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Vincent A. Lanci. You can learn more about me at Vincent A. Lanci across social media, YouTube, or my website, vincentalanci.com. If it's your first time joining us, each week I sit down with a mental health advocate or professional from around the world to help you on your mental health journey. We all have a different why relating to mental health, and mine came after suffering a traumatic brain injury. You will learn today's guest's why in just a moment. But before I bring him on, I would love to share that this episode is brought to you by Tampa Counseling and Wellness, dedicated to helping individuals looking to positively transform their lives through compassionate counseling and wellness coaching. If you struggle with depression, anxiety, or other mental health issues, call today for a free consultation. Therapy that inspires change, and you can find their information for virtual or in-person visits in the episode description. Just scroll down. And no surprise to my loyal followers, another connection made through LinkedIn. I talk about this all the time, but LinkedIn is a truly incredible way to meet people all over the country, across the globe. I also learned from talking with Michael a little and his page that he serves the veteran community as the casting director for the Ambitious Vet Show, a self-improvement podcast for post 9/11 veterans who are 30 to 45 years of age, been out of the military for a while and need more stability. He helps bring in subject matter experts in an authentic conversational format to empower ambitious vets to live a happier, more fulfilling, and purpose-driven life. I'm going to ask Michael to send me that link so I can include it in this episode description for you. Got to bring him on. Michael Parker, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Would you mind introducing yourself on a more personal note to our audience? And then it's time to talk all things mental health.
Yeah, so I'm just a dude. That's what I like to say. I'm just a guy. I love the outdoors. I love hiking, fishing, riding horses. Anytime I can be outside in nature, you'll catch me out there. I'm passionate about helping others because I know what it's like. I've had my dark days and just want to make the world a better place.
I love it. I love the mentality, helping others improve. Where are you streaming in from today, Michael?
I'm coming from a little north of Houston, Texas.
Texas? How's the weather there today? Here in Tampa, it's a little chilly, probably about 45, 50.
I'm wearing a jacket because it's a little chilly this morning.
We're in the hoodies. I'd love to now talk about mental health a little more, Michael. You mentioned you had your dark days, as you put them. Was it anxiety, schizophrenia, depression? Please share with our audience.
Yeah, so, I've been diagnosed with PTSD, depression, anxiety, survivor's guilt, all kinds of different things. And, battling with like the mood swings going from one high to low. it that's pretty, that's pretty much it. Not wanting to go out in public, because I don't want to be around people. Uh, Noticing that the only time I ever go to town is if I'm with somebody, and realizing that I've spent 2 months at the house and not left because I don't want to go out because nobody's around. And that's, you're like, well, we can't do this. You got to work on that.
And it seems I'm looking at you now, you're smiling, you look great. What are some things that helped you get to the point you're at today? Said you locked in your house for 2 years. What are some things that maybe our listeners can adapt as well to get out of their difficult times?
Uh, for me, I embraced the Marine in me, and I just was like, do what makes you uncomfortable, um, and just held my own feet to the fire and made myself do things like, I worked as a trail guide and a tour guide for 3 years, and
Yeah.
so I got used to being around people. But even that took a lot. But I'd say
Okay.
for those listening, um, to work on journaling, writing,
Right.
like that's something that really helped me.
Okay.
Whether you want to journal, for me, poetry, writing poetry helped out a lot. Um, and then with the depression, something that really helped with that was just, um, and with the anxiety too, really, listing 5 things every morning that I was grateful
Like
for.
that.
And then, it doesn't, you're like, well, some days it's hard to think of 5, but it might be the littlest things. Oh, I woke up this morning, whatever. But what that does is you do that over a long period of time, and it creates this shift in your mindset from thinking about the negatives of what's going on around you
Mm.
to you're thinking more on the positives. And that helps with the depression, the suicide, can help you with the anxiety as well too.
I love how you said there, even if it's just a few things, I'm alive. The things we need to be grateful for and focus on. And I've learned this just as we all get older, things that don't cost money. We're breathing, we can move, we could see these things that help us live our greatest life. Thank you for sharing that, Michael. Was it always a goal for you to be on podcasts like this, share your mental health story to help others? Or is this something that I reached out to you and this is it?
I'm a very like my personal life, I like to keep personal. So I'm not huge on sharing like my story and everything, but it's something that I've had to get comfortable doing, uh, because I am so passionate about it, and I want to help others. I realize that I have to step out of my comfort zone. I have to be vulnerable and put myself out there, in order to impact others. And you know, there's part of me that every time I do a podcast or something that's like, oh, do we really want to do this? But I'm like, you know what? Like, if it helps just one person, then in my mind, it's worth it. So I'll put my personal pride to the side and share my struggles.
If it helps just one person, it's worth it. I'm putting that in the show notes. I'm always about that too. Even if I do some speaking with 100 or 1,000 people in the room, if someone comes up to me and just one person I get through, that means so much. I actually, last time I spoke, I just found the note that I came across here. It says, "Thank you for coming. We had so much fun. You made my day," from a little kid, spelled coming, Coming. A little kid, but I got through to them on a mental health basis. So that meant so much to me. Out of all the kids there, the one that stuck out. Very well put there, Michael. And now I'd like to just dive a little into the future here. What else do you plan on doing to break mental health stigma, help veterans? We can speak a little more about that now too.
Yeah, I mean, for the future, obviously, just keep sharing my story and what I've been through, sharing other people's stories, um, educating people about mental health and what it actually looks like, breaking that stigma, um, and letting those that have struggled know that, hey, it's okay to not be okay.
Hmm.
And definitely a huge advocate against suicide, and um, huge advocate for helping people get help. So just going to keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully keep growing that and doing it on a larger scale.
I love it. Let's talk about everything you have a little more. You're a very humble guy. The work you're doing for veterans is immense. Let's shed some more light on maybe the show that you host.
Well, so I was the casting director for that for a little over a year. I had to step down because I had to focus.
Mhm.
My attention was divided. It was either working on the podcast or working on my own. And
Mhm.
you can't chase two rabbits or you're going to get none of them. And I was kind of chasing both, but going nowhere. So I had to pick my focus. And so I had to step back from that and focus entirely on um, the work that I'm doing to try to help veterans. Uh, However, I am in the process of working on setting up a podcast of our own,
Oh, cool.
where we'll interview people with those comeback stories, people that have been through the ringer and found their way back, and kind of as encouragement. So we're still working on that. Haven't released that yet.
Mhm.
We got another Marine vet that's going to help me co-host that. So we're just working through the details, and then hopefully we'll be providing some inspiring content for those that are struggling.
Well, be sure to keep me posted. I'd love to help you share your message more. I think it's now a great time to get into the Spotlight story. Each week, I share a mental health story of someone who is on the more famous side to let you, the listeners, know you are not alone. Even though someone looks like they are healthy from the outside by their career success or money, it may not be on the inside too. So for this week, as we have someone who is passionate about bull riding on the show, I will introduce the mental health related story of someone else who is in Ty Pazaban. And this was a very incredible story to read. I had realized Ty Pazaban had passed away, and let's learn a little more about it. They did a series of mental health awareness educational videos based on this, which really led me to the article. But the rodeo world was shocked in 2017 when a world-class bull rider committed suicide in his home at just 25 years old. I learned he had a number of concussions over his rodeo career and had been suffering from depression and anxiety right leading up to his death. There may have been some red flags, some warning signs. So everybody listening on, be sure to check in on the people you love most. The Pazaban family made the decision after this death to donate the brain to traumatic brain injury, TBI. I was already jumping to the acronym, to get some research and promote the health and well-being of rodeo competitors. 9 months after the researchers started doing their work, they had the first confirmed case of a professional bull rider with chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Excuse me if I'm saying it wrong. It's abbreviation CTE, a disease known to boxers, pro football players, wherever I've heard it from, and other athletes who get a lot of concussions. What do you take away from this story here, Michael?
Yeah, I had to look up what CTE was. Um, but I honestly, after I looked it up and realized what it is, I'm like, it's definitely no shock to me.
Mm-hmm.
As a bull rider, I've definitely suffered my share of injuries, broken bones, plenty of concussions. So it's more, the question for me more is how did it take so long for people to realize that this would be happening to bull riders and stuff? But I guess it's because we kind of just keep it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I know most of us are tough guys. We break bones and we're like, we have this pride about us that we have to walk out of there on our own will.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of just hide the pain and keep going. And I understand the impact it takes on your mind and your body. It's a very mental sport. Um, your I would say your biggest component or opponent is probably yourself. Um, if you don't have this mindset when you climb in there that you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and at the same time have some kind of respect, you don't need to be in there. If you have any doubt in your mind when you get in there, if you can't clear that doubt out, like, you're probably going to get hurt. So there's like this special place that you have to go to, and sometimes you don't get to that place, but as far as like the CTE, I could see that, as I've had numerous head injuries while bull riding. And so I could see how that would be possible. You start to lose your memory, and Me, I lose track of what I'm saying mid sentence sometimes. Like I can completely forget the whole conversation we're having and just so um yeah, I think they need to do more study on it and check into it. I think it's probably one of the most physically demanding sports, even more than football or
Hmm.
hockey or anything like that. Not saying that those aren't physical,
Of
but
course,
man,
of course.
getting hit by a bull is like getting hit by a Mack truck. So
All right. Well, thank you for sharing such great insight and shedding light on really being a first-hand bull rider. I'm glad I got to get you on the show because you were the first one. And I also want to thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time to share your story. You mentioned how you're a little more personal. You don't want to share you haven't shared it as much, but now I hope you're coming out of your shell because you have so much to offer. The advice you offered from PTSD to survivor's guilt. And when you said, if it helps just one person, it's worth it. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to now ask you, where can everybody find you, say hello, find more about anything you're working on?
yeah, the best place to find me is LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. You can find me on there at under Michael Parker. Blue shirt says second chance and a cowboy hat. That's me. You can follow our business, Second Chance Rehabilitation Ranch, on LinkedIn or on Instagram and Facebook at 2CR Ranch. You can check out our website at www.2crranch.com.
Thank you for sharing that, everyone. Be sure to go say hello to Michael. And we are also at a mental health break on all social media, except Twitter. We are at Podcast by Lanci because of the character limit. I am at Vincent A. Lanci for all social media, YouTube, and my website is vincentalanci.com. Mental Health Week and Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health are both available on Amazon now, so you can prime it to you today or tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on next episode next Tuesday. Michael, thanks so much.
Thank you.